As per usual, we start by picking our mastery, and then I'll farm a bit more until level 20 just to unlock another specialization slot, and then we'll figure out what we decide to do. Shaman. Your strikes bear power, avalanches that shatter mountainsides, the lightning that cracks the sky open. You are the storm. We're getting -5 totem mana cost. Okay, well, that doesn't seem useful to us right now, does it? Plus 10 attunement, that will be great. And plus 50 elemental resistances while you control a totem. Okay, so this is actually pushing us in a direction which I did not expect. It's not exactly what I had planned over here, but we're gonna have to figure out how we go forward, how we can use the Shaman to the best of our ability. Either way, attunement will help us a lot. We're just gonna figure out how to incorporate totems into our builds. With this in mind, see you at around level 20. Welcome back everyone to the two-headed wolf gaming channel, Last Epoch, and of course our Shaman. And as we're getting closer to level 21, we need to figure out how to maximize the bonuses we receive from our mastery whenever we're not really using totems, our main focus being on close combat spell casting. We are not really scaling a whole lot of melee damage. We are doing melee damage in order to trigger spells, and those spells do the bulk of the damage. So we need to figure this out. And let's start with the passive bonuses which we receive from the start. Plus 10 attunement is really good for us. We don't even need to do anything for it. We are receiving 2 points of mana for each point of attunement, and it improves skills that rely on innate magic. If we take a look at one of these active skills and we look in the scaling tags, whenever we see attunement, we know that those bonuses will apply to this particular skill, making it stronger. And luckily for us, all of the skills which we have right now in our active skill bar have attunement in the scaling tags, thus we're receiving a lot of power very early on, and that is great. -5 totem mana cost. It's not useful for us. If we were to cast a lot of totems in a very short amount of time, then we would probably get a lot out of it in the long run. But we are not, so doesn't really apply for us. However, the 50% increased elemental resistance while you control a totem, that is really good. We would be foolish not to take advantage of such a bonus, especially in dangerous situations or when we are fighting an elemental boss, right? And you might look at the word here control and wonder what does that mean. It's a bit weird, but it doesn't really mean anything. If I summon the storm totem right now, you can see that I'm already getting the bonuses to resistance. So there you go, easy to use, definitely something we want. So at this point I wondered, if I was to specialize in one of these totems, would I be able to automize it somehow? Would I be able to do a melee attack or a spell and summon one of these totems, right? Make it very easy for us to do it. The answer to that is no. Okay, then what if I was to specialize in one of the skills which I actually want to specialize in? Would I be able to summon one of these totems? And the answer to that question is yes, we can do it with Tempest Strike. Tempest Strike is a melee attack that cycles through Cold Strike, Physical Strike, and Lightning Strike that trigger elemental tempest spells of the same damage type if the strike hits at least one enemy. And each one of those strikes has its own tempest with its own effect. You can pause the video and read through it, or if you can watch the previous video where I go through it and actually show it off. But needless to say, on most of our skills that we are running with, we are doing melee damage just as a trigger where the spell is actually doing the bulk of the damage. In this situation, those tempests are actually doing the most amount of damage. And if we go down this path, we can get here to Looming Gale, where we can now create a Tempest Totem that casts a Tempest of the corresponding strike that created it, and we are limited to one of each type of totem. So instead of actually attacking the enemy and summoning those tempests, we would be able to summon totems which would trigger those tempests. And that is pretty cool as an idea. It also would give us the 50% resistances, right? Elemental resistances. And that's really nice. However, the downside of this modifier is that it removes our melee attacks. So this no longer is a melee attack. Let me explain to you why this has a big impact. You know that when I'm using Gathering Storm, a melee attack, I'm actually doing it for the Storm stack, which can trigger Storm Bolt, right? Even though I'm doing 159 melee damage here per second, I am getting 280 damage per Storm Bolt, just as a baseline. So that's stronger, that's what I'm doing here. And for it, I need to attack in melee, gain Storm stacks, and then Storm Bolts happen. If I was to keep the melee attacks here in Tempest Strike, I could go down this path, get to Sky Opener, where we can now expand Storm stacks. You know, the Storm stacks which I said earlier. When we use Tempest Strike and hit at least one enemy with melee attack. And the Storm Bolts that are cast this way deal 60% more damage. That is a huge amount of damage for using the same type of storm stacks. And we can get a bunch of them through different modifiers and so on and so forth. But if I go down this path, if I go back to Gathering Storm, and we look at Two-Eyed Storms, whenever we expand a storm stack, while dual wielding, we now cast Storm Bolts at 2 enemies instead of 1. You see that it doesn't say that we have to do this while using Gathering Storms. It's whenever we expand the Storm Bolt. So this might also apply to this one, giving us 2 attacks with 60% more damage, which is really crazy. And when we're looking at this modifier, whenever you hit a boss or rare enemy with a Storm Bolt, you have a chance to cast it again at the same enemy after 0.25 seconds. Those are a lot of Storm Bolts. And we would be missing on, I'd say, about half of them, or half the damage, a bit more than half the damage, if we were to remove the melee from it. So with this in mind, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to specialize in any of the totems, and I'm just going to keep it here. Whenever needed, I'm just going to cast a simple Storm Totem, and that will have to be it. That will provide us with the bonus needed for right now, and we won't have to worry about anything else. Now, there are a few ways in which we can specialize further. We could get a bunch of crows, and they would give us increased spell lightning damage. They would cast all sorts of buffs on us. Don't really go into intelligence here, so you can go with ornithology. You are granted additional intelligence per active storm crow. Intelligence, what it does, it provides you with 4% word retention, which was great for the Beastmaster, but none of these skills right here have intelligence in their scaling tag. So you are not really getting damage by specializing or going in that direction. So be a bit careful with the scaling tags and what they do. And thus I consider that Maelstrom is the way to go. I want to get up here to Gathering Storms, where killing an enemy has a chance to create a stack of Maelstrom. This effect has a 2-second cooldown, so that sounds really good to me. We will need to improve these with 4 points in order to get to this one, but that is totally fine to me. Because Maelstrom stacks have a longer duration is good. Maelstrom deals more damage, and this bonus is doubled if you have at least 60 attunement. You know, we're getting a lot more damage, and whenever we get 60 plus attunement, we're gonna get double the damage bonus here. That is really cool for us. I am happy with it. Then we're going back here to Gathering Storms. We are going to make Storm Bolts consume a portion of our mana, but deal more damage per 10 current mana. So we're using 1% mana consumption. You know, that's a bit unfortunate, but we're also getting some mana back from here. And we're gonna get Two-Eyed Storm. That is really good. I am really happy that we got to this point. Now let's upgrade this one. As I said before, we're going here to Sky Opener. I really feel like that is really good. We can get reduced mana cost. That would help us. We could get some lightning penetration there. Probably getting a bit of shocks. Thunder Tempest shocks enemies. It hits. I do like that. Missing the stun chance. And whenever you cast Thunder Tempest, you can also cast it to your Storm Totem. Definitely don't want that. We do not care about that. But I guess Tempest Strike penetrates enemy physical resistance per active physical minion, penetrates cold resistance per cold minion, and penetrates lightning resistance per lightning minion. Our crows are lightning minions. I guess going a bit further on that could be good. Yeah, sure. Do I need anything? Oh, I don't have an extra point. But that's about it. Let's look at our passives quickly and then start taking enemies down. Shamanic Infusion gives us 1 point of attunement and 1 point of resistance penetration. Sky Warrior increases damage and minion damage. Okay. Silent Protector, armor with active totem. Yeah, we're not using totems, it doesn't matter. Let's invest in attunement first, but we need to invest 3 more points here in the Primalist. And I guess we could go here with more elemental damage. And it's doubled while we have a minion, so that is good. You and your totems deal additional spell damage. This bonus is tripled while using an axe. Okay, we might want to do that at some point, but definitely not this early on. Okay, let's get the attunement and resistance penetration. We have 1 more point. Can now conjure a tornado that moves at random, pulling in nearby enemies and dealing physical damage to them. Doesn't seem like it's the best one at this moment, but we're gonna try it out. Probably? Maybe. Let's see, Tempest Form gives us 10 health, shock chance on hit 5%, chill chance on hit 5%, and if we invest 5 points, you gain mana when you directly use Gathering Storm and hit at least 1 enemy. So we're getting another generator here by using Gathering Storm, and if we can automize it, it's really going to be super great. Oh, we actually need Gathering Storm in order to... What? Wait a second. So this is Gathering Storm. Ah, okay, so it's when we do the Gathering Storm. Oh, okay. 5 mana on Gathering Storm, that is totally fine. I thought it was Maelstrom, but it wasn't the case. Actually, this is even more efficient than the other one. Lagonian Wrath, spell damage +1, and at 4 points, chance to cast Stormbolt when hit. Oh, we want all of these. So where do we start? Let's start with the mana generation, and then we're gonna go with this one. And like, there's so much storm damage here, and so many bonuses, which I already feel like they're going to be crazy. But let's put it to good use. Let's try it out. I feel actually really good about all of this. I feel like it's going so great for this weird type of spellcaster where we are doing melees as trigger. And whenever we need some defenses, at least we can throw down one of these storm totems. For now it's gonna occupy a slot, which is a bit unfortunate, but what can you do? Let's try not the Maelstrom, let's try the Tornado here. Okay, the good part is that I can cast a lot of them. Yeah, that's actually really good. For 25 mana when we are at 179, that's really good. But we're gonna stay on this. I want to be some sort of close combat spellcaster, so the fact that we can use this at a distance is not really appealing with the direction that I want to go into. As far as passives, we're gonna keep going this way. I feel getting a bit more health early on is actually better than getting that 25% chance to cast a Stormbolt on hit. And this is pretty much the idea for right now. It feels very powerful. I don't think I have to worry too much going forward. I just need to look for slightly better armor or improve some of our gear just to make sure we're keeping up with defenses. At the end of the day, we're pretty squishy. We have focused more on spellcasting rather than anything else. And actually I could use this a bit more often, right? Since now we're doing a lot more damage with it. Mana regeneration is not too great. We definitely have to go into this sort of attack. The Gathering Storms attack to generate some back or at a quicker pace. Oh, look at that. Is anything more powerful than that? This is spellcasting, this is not melee damage. Now there is a chance that these soul repositories are weak to lightning damage. That is a pretty big chance. I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, it's metal, so maybe it has a weakness to that. But you don't really know. There's probably a wiki. There's probably already a wiki, I could say. It has this information. Maybe it's data mined or something. I'm not really sure. Haven't looked it up. Didn't need to so far. There you go. And what I want is 2 more levels on our Maelstrom, just so we can get that automatic trigger on kill. And that would be really awesome. I've done one of these important skills, then we're going to the next one where we find ourselves fighting a mini boss. And then we'll have ourselves a fight with a more dangerous boss. Or are they called, it's not a mini boss, it's an elite enemy. I have to remember this, right? It's elite enemy. And then it's boss. Look at those damages. 500 damage with a lightning bolt and 1000 if it's a critical. Okay, it's 300 with this one. Whenever we're doing the others, it might not actually be the bolt, the lightning bolt. It might be one of these tempests which actually does damage that level. That might be the case. It might not be the storm bolt itself. I will have to go very slow motion in the video to figure out what's what. But either way, we can see some of those damages fly out, right? Those 200 numbers. Those are the storm bolts, the 400s as well. 500 right there, 546. Yeah, we're getting a lot of increased damage depending on what we're doing and the moment we find ourselves at. Yeah, we're fighting one of these mages, which will be great for us. It's a great opportunity to throw a totem down. It means that we are more resistant to the elements. Look at this. We're doing really well fighting one of these mages. I mean, we don't even have to worry. We're really capped on lightning damage and all this. I just have to cast one of these totems every once in a while when fighting an elite enemy. That's totally fine by me. But this is another one of those builds where I felt like it was going to work. Somewhere in my mind, I felt like that would be the case, but I didn't think it was going to work this well. Let's see, I have here a nice scepter, which would give us spell lightning damage, 0.6 lightning damage, leech test health. It would reduce that 26% elemental damage. Now, if I was to forge this, lightning damage and leech, let's see, if I was... Let's look at lightning first. Melee lightning damage. And elemental damage is also a prefix. So we would either get the elemental damage or we would get the lightning damage straight up, which would be better. We're doing some elemental damages with this, right? Because we changed to the Frigid Tempest, which would be cold damage. Wind Tempest is about physical, so it's not really adding to that. I'm guessing that going for lightning damage is actually the better way to go. So let's do it. Not melee lightning damage, that's not what we want. We want straight up lightning. So we're adding this. Oh, there's no more forging potential, that is it? Didn't look at it. But I still feel like it's going to be powerful. Let's see, 184 there. I replace it with this. 100, and 53. Okay, it does not. It's not enough. I guess the percentages were definitely a lot better. Should have paid a bit more attention to that chance to forge. Doesn't matter too much. I'm super happy that this works. I feel on par with how the Spellblade turned out. Really, it's one of those ideas which feels a bit more unique, but it's a lot of fun. And I'm happy it turned out properly. Armor, dodge, health, attunement, and intelligence instead of the speed. Probably that would be good. I'm gonna replace a lot of this equipment at some point. Just not yet. So in order to test this build, we'll have to go and fight the boss. Put ourselves against a true challenge.
Farewell.
Let's see, what do I want to upgrade here next? I think I want this lightning penetration. I think that could be very good. I have two lightning minions. That would be 6% penetration. I could go with less mana cost but a bit more speed. And then get lightning penetration per 5% uncapped lightning resistance. I mean, this works until we put down one of these totems, at which point it doesn't matter anymore, right? So, yeah, probably not the best thing in the world. I could just go in this direction, right? Has higher chance to freeze enemies, has higher chance to shock, deals more damage, and then we can get you have a chance to also cast Thunder Tempest when you attack with cold or physical Tempest, right? So having a chance to cast the other Tempest when we are doing damage that is not of that particular Tempest. Do I say too much Tempest? Probably so. Let's go with this one. Let's have some of that resistance penetration there, making sure we're getting a lot more damage.
Yes.
Okay, boss battle. I'll throw this one in. We'll do these quick attacks. Look at that. Okay, throw down another one of these totems. We'll do some normal attacks while we heal ourselves. This damage doesn't even matter to us, this elemental damage. I mean, we could, look, we can sit there and we'll be totally fine. But our enemies will not be. That's it. So now we invest another point here in Turbulence. And the next level, we are going to be able to automate that as well. I am so happy with this. It's like the gems, after going through, what is it now, 10? This is the 11th day. And we have 4 more days ahead of us of trying out the new class and new mastery. Every time I get one of these gems after these 11 days is definitely a highlight. It makes this so much worth it. It feels like it wasn't in vain. And if the game was boring, then I couldn't have done this. This would have been really bad. And if builds felt similarly by playing with one element, then this would have been bad. Fortunately for us, it wasn't. Fortunately, especially for me, this wasn't, right? Now let's see here. What do we do with this passive? Oh, Tempest form, we continue on down that path. And it seems like our melee damage also keeps up quite well. I mean, when we're doing this Tempest attacks, it's almost like it's a one-shot kill. But I guess the Tempest help a lot as well, with some of the effects being almost instantly. And at this point, I don't know exactly what else there is to be said about these builds. I mean, I feel like we're just going to scale up. We're gonna continue leveling this class up. And we shall see the new power level at around level 35. I really feel like this is going to go pretty well going forward. Not going to have too many issues. We're gonna gain a lot of strength in the process. And that's about it, I guess. Let's see, what can we do here? Storm bolts have a chance to shock and increase melee damage to shocked enemies. No, that's something. And we can get to Gathering Storm deals additional spell damage per free melee damage on your equipped axe or mace. Okay, we don't have an axe at this moment, so this is not going to help us. Additional storm stack chance 25 per point. If you hit at least 3 enemies with the same melee attack. Whenever you use Gathering Storm and hit at least 1 enemy, you gain a stack of Wings of Lightning. Each time one of your Stormcrows attacks, they consume a stack of Wings of Lightning, causing their basic attack to chain 2 additional times. So that sounds good. If you have from 1 to 15 storm stacks, your minion's lightning skill hits have a chance to grant you a storm stack. Okay. Interesting. Whenever you expand the storm stacks, you have a chance to gain one. We have a chance to cast Maelstrom here whenever we expand one of those. So we can increase this by a lot. Okay. So many ideas. Let's improve our storm crows. I think that will be my 4th specialization. If I can expand the skill of these storm crows, I could make them really strong. There is one of their skills which actually takes half of your lightning damage and gives it to them as power. So, example over here. Let's see, where is this one, I believe? Or this one. Your increases to lightning damage also apply to your storm crows, but at a reduced effectiveness, 30% per point. And if we invest 5 points, it would be at 150% per point. So that's actually turning into a multiplier. Then we could go with a 5% chance to do the chain lightning. We can do a lot here. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Earthquake, Avalanche, those are skills which I'm not really interested in. So I guess that's about it. Yeah, overall I think I proved everything I wanted to prove with this episode. And I really hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you like where this idea is heading into. And maybe you want to try it out. If you do, let me know. I'd be curious to hear whether you find this idea interesting. And I know it sounds cheesy. Yeah, leave a comment down in the down below and things like that. But it's the way of communication. Since I'm not really streaming at the moment, this is the way we communicate. So I am curious to hear from you as well. Or if you tried some other ideas, that would be interesting as well. And I guess with this being said, I thank you very much for watching. Appreciate all the support you've offered me. I wish you all have a wonderful day until the next episode.